Don Lemon had a segment where he made fun of Donald Trump and how stupid he is. And that's led to a little bit of a debate about whether or not this is the right way to go about things. Let's watch the segment, we'll discuss.
He also knows deep in his heart that Donald Trump couldn't find Ukraine on a map if you had the letter U and a picture of an actual physical crane next to it. He knows that this is, an administration defined by ignorance of the world. And so that's partly him playing to their base and playing to their audience, the credulous boomer Rube demo that backs Donald Trump. That wants to think that Donald Trump's the smart one, and y'all elitists are dumb.
You elitists with your geography and your maps and your spelling.
So what they were referencing there was an interview that Mike Pompeo had with NPR. And in that interview, it was so tense that Pompeo came back with a map accusing the NPR reporter of not knowing where Ukraine was. Anyway, so they make fun of how dumb Donald Trump is, and then Ivanka Trump responds to it, saying via Twitter, "You consistently make fun of half the country, then complain that it is divided. The arrogance, mocking accents, and smug ridicule of this nation's real elites is disgusting." And so that led to a hashtag that's pretty funny, nepotism Barbie. The real elites, the boy and the bride of Chucky, who made a whopping 135 million sitting on their ass. And then hashtag nepotism Barbie, which was trending earlier. So I actually wanted to talk a little bit about whether it's a smart move to make fun of how dumb Trump is or how dumb his supporters are. Because look, let me just say, now that I've actually watched that segment, I didn't think what Rick Wilson said was that funny. Like the fact,
Cal, thank you.
Yeah, the fact that Don Lemon lost it over that was weird to me because it wasn't that funny. But look, I actually think it does turn people off when you make fun of how dumb they are, or how dumb constituents are for a certain candidate or politician. And I say that as someone who's made that mistake before.
Yeah, so I think that it's a mixed bag. A lot of context matters. So when someone's engaging in a false debate about, well, maybe wind energy does cause cancer, or maybe it doesn't. So that's the thing that Donald Trump actually believes. Well, then you got to go, look, I'm sorry, but you're not intelligent. And so it's just, or at a bare minimum, you're deeply ignorant. And if you think, by the way, 99% of the world's scientists all got together in a room and conspired to change the thermometer readings, you are not intelligent. So I don't mind saying that. And I've done the accents every once in a while, and but it's in relationship to a particular bad guy who had done something in that regard, right? So I get what they're saying, but the person, we all agree that the person least qualified to talk about elitism is Ivanka Trump.
Right.
Okay, that's obvious. I mean, they literally have gold-plated toilets at the Trump house. Okay, so you're talking about elitism. And Donald Trump went after Don Lemon. But wait a minute, Don Lemon just laughed. It was actually the Republican strategist, Rick Wilson, who made the joke.
Right.
Right? So there's all that. On the other hand, watching that CNN clip, yeah, I think that it probably enrages some MAGA folks. Now, the thing is, the MAGA folks are lost anyway. What I don't want is some independents, maybe from the South, who hear that and think, oh, these people are making fun of us.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not at all interested in pandering to MAGA guys. MAGA guys are a lost cause. They're gonna support him no matter what, it's cult-like. But I do think that there are people in middle America who don't really identify as diehard Trump supporters, but they do feel neglected, they do feel left behind, and they do feel like the so-called elitists are laughing at them constantly, right? And think about what is valued in America: status, right? Where you live, how you live, what kind of car you drive, that nonsense. And so if you're struggling to put food on your table, and then you have these people on television laughing at people that might fall under your demographic, well, that really does turn you off, and you start to reject anything that comes from these media outlets.
Yeah, and look, when we talk about stories, I always tell you guys, it's not your job to know these things. So, for example, when Donald Trump had no idea what the difference between the Quds Force and the Kurds were, if you're a dentist out there, you're a perfectly smart person, but You might have never read about the Quds Force versus the Kurds. That'd be perfectly normal. And by the way, some of us might not be able to find Ukraine on a map. I can, but that's partly my job, right? And so that doesn't mean that you're stupid or you're unintelligent, but we're talking about the people in charge. They're supposed to be able to find Ukraine on a map. And so, I mean, look, perfect example is Donald Trump. He keeps talking about corruption in Ukraine. Can't name a single person in Ukraine. So what are you worried about? Who's the corrupt people in Ukraine? He's like Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. Joe Biden's not even in Ukraine, right? So can't name a single Ukrainian that he's concerned about being corrupt. So there's a right way, I think, to do it. I do think that segment felt a little wrong, especially because Don went so over the top.
Like it was
just
too,
yeah, it felt fake. And then when you add the derision on top of the fakeness, then it does smack a little bit of elitism. Again, the Trumps would be the single worst people to make that claim.
Right. And look, they make that claim all the time. Trump made that claim incessantly during the 2016 election, and it worked. So it's weird how certain things don't stick, especially when they're being uttered by people who are the most corrupt or the most elitist. But that's just the way things work for some reason. And I think that we need to be careful as people in the media to not say things that can be misconstrued as judgment toward voters, right? And again, I say that as someone who's made that mistake, and I don't think it's a smart strategy.
Yeah, last thing is that I think that progressives are the least likely to make that mistake because we're populist. Whereas the Democratic establishment, the reason why people get turned off by a lot of the leadership in the Democratic Party is because they do like reek of elitism.
Definitely.
And they look down their nose at people and they go to the fancy parties and you got no sense from them at all. I mean, you name any Democratic leader at the very top of the Democratic Party that aren't progressive, and you get a sense with them that they are nonstop at the fanciest cocktail parties you've ever seen, Martha's Vineyard, wine caves, et cetera, et cetera. It's not that they're too liberal, it's that they're too elitist, and that has hurt the Democratic Party a lot. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.